my job is to teach people how to stand out from that, like how to be different. And the problem is there's no formal training when you come into this industry.
Today we have a woman on the show who will put male truckers to shame. Today I'm very pleased to have Ashley Tucker with us. Ashley has a decade of experience in transport logistics and auto relocation. Ashley started out as an enclosed auto transport driver, and by 23 she was running her own auto transport company. Today she is a federally licensed auto transport broker and business consultant to those looking to start their own auto transport company. Ashley, I got to ask you, have you ever been called Trucker Tucker? Did you ever drive one of those big monster trucks, toot your horn, driving down the highway and talk on the CB radios to other truckers about the weird stuff you've seen normal car drivers doing way up there, in the truck?
Well, I've never been called Trucker Tucker before, so that's a first. But I have honked my horn, and I never use a CB radio. I know, as shockingly as it sounds, I chose not to have one in my truck. So yeah.
You dashed my image of Trucker Tucker there.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
So what do you like to do when you're not working on your business? How do you relax? I hear you have a super girl in your family.
Yes, I spend a lot of time with my daughter, but mostly I like to do photography and I like to read. I read a lot. I'm addicted to learning, so yeah, it's addiction.
So what do you like to read?
Business books, mainly personal development books. Right now, I'm just finishing up The Slight Edge. It's a really good book, but anything I can get my hands on that betters me either as a person or as a business person. So I like to learn.
Yeah, Slight Edge is a great book. Yes, that's really good. I mean, do you listen to a lot of podcasts? Do you take these free online courses? There's a lot of free online courses available right now through the universities. You can learn so much. You can get a university education for totally free.
Yeah, I do listen to podcasts. I listen to Starve to Doubts. I listen to The School of Greatness. That's a favorite too. But mainly, I've actually recently started listening to Pat Flynn, Smart Passive Income, and I really found it interesting. I really like that podcast. But other than that, I'm more of a reader. I don't do too many free online courses. I am involved in a couple business Facebook groups where I've purchased courses and stuff, and you get access to a private Facebook group. But I'm more of a hardcover kind of a girl. I like to go into the bookstore, buy a book, and read it.
Well, that's good. That's good. I mean, I listen to a lot of audiobooks because it seems like everybody is so busy these days, multitasking and doing all kinds of things, and then the only time you really have is, say, in your car when you're driving somewhere, or when you're cooking. You can put this audiobook on or whatnot. But it's really, really nice to hear that you have the time to just sit down and open a book and just focus totally on that. A lot of times they tell you that you should not be multitasking because then you're not really paying full attention to what you're doing or what you're learning or reading. So you should really just open a book and just focus totally on it. That's good. That's good to hear. What did you do before you got into this whole auto transport business? What was your passion?
Funny enough, my passion have been photography since I was a little girl. My mother had a bunch of Minolta cameras, so I would always want to play with them, but she would never let me. So in high school, I took a few photography classes, and my parents were like, you're too smart to be a photographer. Not saying anything bad about photographers, but they're like, you can use your talents elsewhere. Please don't, just become a photographer. They have this whole perception that creative people don't make money and stuff. So I did the whole college thing for a year and a half. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to either go to the military or drive a truck. And my father, being both a military vet and a truck driver, was like, I'd rather you drive a truck. So I pushed my passion to the side. I'd gotten a truck and I learned how to drive, and I fell in love ever since. In 2008, I bought my first DSLR on my own with my trucking money, and I pretty much started taking pictures and learning how to use a camera again because, from art classes and photography and in high school, you use film cameras. So now I have this digital camera, and I'm like, what do I do with it? So when I wasn't driving, I would literally take pictures of things, anything I can take pictures of: trees, truck stops, truck mirrors. So yeah, and I just learned, and I started a photography business while driving a truck, and pretty much it just been trucking and photography until I started my auto transport business.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, creative people, a lot of times they don't make a lot of money. It's true. It's true that you have to be either noticed, you have to get noticed and get seen to really make some money. I have a niece in the UK. Most of my family's still in the UK, and she's actually an actress. She's a budding actress, and she's been on BBC. She's a star in one of the shows now called In the Club, and she's getting into the movie business as well. But it took a long time. It took a lot of education. It took a lot of effort to get noticed. So creative people, a lot of times creative people don't make it. They just don't have the money. They basically starving artists, as they call them. So it's good that your dad kind of pointed you in a direction that he thought would be more practical as well, and get some money in the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got into photography and you got a DSLR, and you started with Minolta cameras. I had a Minolta X370. It was one of the best cameras that I had. It was all manual. And yeah, it's great to, like, I had all these lenses, all these filters. Yeah, it was wonderful what you could do. But now film is out the door. We have digital photography. So tell me more about this whole auto transport broker business. What is an auto transport broker, and how hard is it to get your auto transport broker license?
It's really simple to get the license. That's the easy part. It's an auto transport broker is someone that just ships cars. It's under the freight brokering umbrella. Most people hear about freight brokers because if you have anything in your house, it's got there by truck, right? That's the whole saying. And it's true. A freight broker is the person that coordinates that shipment. To be an auto transport broker, you have to be a freight broker, but it's just like a niche down field. So, I'm specializing in auto transport. I couldn't specialize in anything. I could specialize in moving trees if I want, but, I chose auto transport. So I ship cars for people from point A to point B, and that's my job, is to coordinate it. Getting your license is simple. It's just an application, and you pay a certain amount of money. It's like $300 and something, but there's other requirements that go along with it, like having a $75,000 bond. But you don't have to have that money up front. So a lot of people, that's like one of the misconceptions is, oh my God, do I have to have $75,000 like cash lying around? I'm like, no, it's kind of like the things where you finance it. It's like insurance, you finance it. So, but yeah, that's pretty much, it about the actual industry. It's just shipping cars.
Yeah. And, have you ever shipped some really expensive cars and thought, oh, what if one of them fell off the back and, I get to keep it?
You're trying to get the embarrassing stories out of me. Okay, so my first trucking job, I was driving a truck before I actually had a license. So I was illegally driving, but I was learning. So I spent from 19 years old until I was 21, because in the United States, you have to be 21 to get your trucking license. So I spent that time learning everything I could. So when it was time to get my license, I got my license. And my first job was as an enclosed auto transport driver. The funny thing about that is usually those jobs, you have to have years upon years of experience, but I kind of got the hook up with this guy who, was looking for a driver, looking for team actually. And me and my boyfriend, he was the one that taught me to drive. We kind of was like, hey, we'll do the job. So we both got the job together, and we just would drive from here to New York, mainly from Florida to New York, and we deliver Bentleys and things like that. So my very first run, I was supposed to move a Dodge Viper. Okay. So I went down to Miami on South Beach to pick up the Dodge Viper, and I get in the car and I'm looking around, and the guy was like, hey, do you want help starting it? And I'm like, no, I got it. And I'm like, oh crap, I don't know how to start this car. So I'm just sitting there like, Ashley, just calm down. Just think, where would the start? How would you start it? Cause there was no place for no key or anything. So I'm like, how do you start this thing? And then boom, the red light just it's like a miracle. And I see a red light that says start. So I press it, and it was like, boom. I was like, oh crap. And I was like so excited, but so embarrassed. And he was like, okay, you're all right in there. And I'm like, yeah, I got it. But really, I had no clue what I was doing. But I guess you fake it till you make it. So I pretty much faked it until I started the car.
Yeah. And you probably wanted to keep that car, didn't you?
Oh, yes, yes. It was a really nice car. It was a very, very nice car. I mean, that's what made me fall in love with the industry. Honestly, I've gotten to drive a lot of nice cars, especially at 21 years old, and you get to sit behind a Bentley or a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, and it's like, holy cow, like I'm actually driving it. Like, this is crazy. So, I mean, it's a nerve-wracking job, but it was exciting. And from then, I knew that, I want to be in this industry. Like, there's nothing that's going to change that. So.
Is it just a matter of driving it from like 100 feet from the parking lot into the truck, or do you actually pick it up from somewhere and then drive it to where you are or where your business is?
It's a combination of both. As an enclosed driver, usually, you can't fit when you're driving high-end cars, you usually can't fit into the neighborhood. So a lot of times I'd have to park the truck down the road at like the closest Walmart or Target parking lot, and then either have the client come pick me up and I drive them back and then drive the car back, or I'll get dropped off in front of the neighborhood and then my boyfriend would go drive the truck to the parking lot and then I would just drive the car back. There are times where you're right there and you can just pick it up in front of the place, but most of the times, like, it was a combination of, I guess, both. I shouldn't say most of the time. It was a combination of both where, sometimes I would have to drive the car. And that was the fun part when I got to drive it down the street, because everybody's like looking at me and like I'm a female and very, very young. And it's like really expensive car that's worth more than all my belongings put together. And it's like, holy cow,
So did you ever take a car and go shopping and?
Oh, no. No, unfortunately, everybody calls me like this prude girl or the brown noser because I am a stickler for rules. I mean, I like to break rules, but when it comes down to certain laws and rules, like, I follow them to a T. And people make fun of me for it, but I mean, it's somebody's property, so I would never do that. But yeah, I mean, I've had a guy that told me I can like go get food in his car. I delivered, he had a Bentley Azure, I think that's how you say it. And we delivered in South Carolina, and he was like, did you want to grab something to eat? I know your truck is big. You can just take my car up the street and there's a place over there, a restaurant. You guys can go sit down and eat. I'm like, no, thank you. It's fine. I'm going to get on the road. We have a bunch of cars to deliver. But I don't know. It's just a lot of people think that people with like a lot of money are like mean, and they're not. They were like the nicest people in the world. And it was just, like I said, it was an amazing experience. And that's why you can't get me out of auto transport. No matter what you do, I'm stuck here.
If you get the opportunity, a lot of people will do that. I always wonder, like, when you have these valets, parking your car, I always wonder if they take it for a spin somewhere,
In the movies, they do.
Well, yeah, you see that, right? So, but yep. I'm sure, like, you have to stick to the rules, and you have to run it as a business.
Right.
So if something happens to that car, you're responsible for it, right?
Yes. And it's funny because that's one of the big gray areas in transport. Technically, if I am driving the car from a person's house to the truck, it's not covered under my insurance. So that's a risk they would have to take, as a driver. If I'm not a driver anymore, obviously, but, it would not be covered under my insurance because the insurance only covers me as I'm driving it on the trailer and as I'm driving it off the trailer and while it's on the trailer. So while I'm driving the truck down the road, it covers it. But as soon as the front two wheels are off of my trailer ramp, it's no longer covered. So a lot of people don't know that. So when accidents happen or things happen where they had the driver take their car and, and then all of a sudden there's a dent. And if the driver says, hey, it happened when I moved your car from your house to my trailer, the insurance automatically says, well, it's not our fault. It's not covered. So, I mean, the industry is pretty tricky if you don't know what you're doing. And that's why that was kind of like the basis for why I started the coaching side of my business and teaching people how to be brokers and how to start their own trucking business, because I want to explain to them the right way, because I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. And I just want to eliminate that area for people that are starting out, because it will cost you a lot of money.
I'm not sure about the Canadian laws, but from what little I know about the auto industry is that if you're in the car and you're driving it, you're responsible basically for it. Your insurance is what's covering any damages and whatnot. But here it's kind of a no fault. So even if you hit somebody, it's like both people are responsible.
Oh, wow.
But up to a point. I mean, there are, exceptions and so on. My girlfriend actually just last night got rear-ended driving home. But it wasn't anything big. She was lucky because there was an off-duty policewoman that saw what happened. And so she was the witness for her. So
wow.
That was actually cool. So you get into this auto transport broker business. It's a very competitive business, right? And you have to, from what I read from your background and your website and so on, is that you have to buy leads if you want to make money right away. So what does that mean? Is that a way to get past all the other 10 brokers trying to get the same client?
No, actually, that's a way to just end up right in the same pond as all those other 10 brokers that are trying to get the same client. Okay, so buying leads. When people think of leads, they automatically think of just emails, and it's not really like that for our industry. So there's like sites that capture, people's information, and they will market themselves as get 10 free quotes instantly, right? So they do all the SEO for people like me, or anybody that's starting out in the business, I should say. So you don't have to worry about like marketing or do any of that when you buy leads from these sites. So they supposed to only sell it to 10 brokers at a time. The problem is a lot of those sites don't sell it to 10 brokers. They sell it to 30 because, hey, they can make more money. Why not? So when you get these leads, which is just the customer filling out a quote form on that site, and then their information is passed on to you, and then you contact them and you try to sell them your services. A lot of people try to be the first person to call. That strategy doesn't work, right? Being the first person to call is like, I don't know, trying to, you ever had like one of those contests on the radio that's like, be the 99th caller and you win a trip to Cancun or something like that. And you're like dialing in and you're not, like, it's kind of like that. It's kind of hard to be the first caller. So, but the idea is to get these people to choose you out of all the other people they've contacted. So as a consumer, you can imagine how many calls you're going to be getting. You're filling out one of these. If you only fill out one, some people have filled out like 3 or 4 of them. So that's quadruple the amount of calls they're getting. And so you have to choose between all these companies that are basically saying the same exact thing. So my job is to teach people how to stand out from that, like how to be different. And the problem is there's no formal training when you come into this industry. And when you sign up for like our concept of a CRM system, which is, they just call it a brokering software. I still call it CRM, but it's just a brokering software. And when they sign up for these companies, the companies will give them a little bit of advice how to run your business. But usually it's like, hey, come on in and just look at what the big guys are doing and copy them. That's the wrong advice, because now you're competing with a whole bunch of other companies that have thousands of leads, thousands of reviews, thousands of testimonials, and, you can't compete with that. And then they can charge lower prices, which most of the time are fake. You never, ever move your car for as low as most of these companies are telling you. So as a broker coming in, you become overwhelmed. And I've been there, and it's to the point where I've wanted to quit because of the fact that I'm like, I didn't expect to get into this. Like, nobody warned me it was like this. And, but having a child and knowing that this is what you really want to do, it kind of pushed you forward. And I was fortunate that I spent so many years driving a truck that I saved up enough money where I was still able to live off my money and still be able to try to figure out my business. Even though I had to dig into my personal stash to do it, it gave me an opportunity that most people don't have. So that was, like I said, another reason for creating the course is that there was no formal training. No, you just it's like throwing a bloody fish into a shark tank. Like that's how it is for a broker trying to compete in this industry. And then you have to deal with the scams of the industry and the bad brokers. And so it's kind of hard if you don't have the training. But that's how leads is the basis of your business. Without it, you're going to fail, because if you really think about it, in the industry, trying to compete with people that have huge marketing budgets is kind of like throwing your money away, right? So it's the same thing with auto transport. Like for the keywords, it's ridiculous. It's like $9 for auto transport if you try to rank for that. And then you have the players that have these huge companies that are always going to be number one in the ad search and in homepage search. So I basically try to teach people how to, build their SEO on their own, and they have no idea what SEO is, and I'm teaching them this, and I'm also teaching them how to convert leads at the same time. So while you're converting leads and, making money, you can take that money and put it back into your business by building on organic keywords and doing things like blogging and things that most traditional businesses do that auto transport brokers are just now catching on to.
There are some startup costs. Like if you want to get into this auto transport broker business, what other, we touched on it a little bit. On average, what are the startup costs?
You can start the business for less than $5,000. And that really depends on your credit. Now, like I said, there's a $75,000 bond. That bond used to be $10,000. So it used to be a lot easier. You pay I think it was like $1,000 a year. And you can have, your bond covered, and it was really easy to get in, but too many people was coming in and scamming and doing all kind of bad things. So the government, decided to raise it to $75,000 last October. So now it's a lot harder, but if you have good credit or a decent down payment, then you can put it down and pay either monthly or yearly, depending on the quote unquote bonding company, which is like an insurance company. Other than that, your business cost just your CRM system, a load board, and without going too much into detail about a load board is just how we find our carriers. And everybody automatically think of UShip because of, I guess, this bidding war or storage wars or something on TV that's going on. But it's nothing like UShip. It's monitored, and you have to be licensed and brokered and bonded and all that stuff to get on there. As a carrier, you have to be legit. You have to have your insurance and stuff to get on there. But, and there's dealerships on there, like a lot of car dealerships. You have the Bentley dealership actually is on there, funny enough. So like all these dealerships, they sign up and they get on there. That's how they find their carriers to move your car. So, and that's how we brokers find it. So you have that expense. And then, your phone line, just basic internet, and that's it. But the biggest expense is the bond. Once you have that, you're in the door. You're good to go, at least for a year. And then you have to renew it next year, So, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
You have a lot of experience in the relocation or the relocation industry. I can tell just by listening to you. You have all this experience, and you felt a need to help other people. You created Relo Academy. How did you determine that there was a need for it?
Okay, so it's a funny story. When I became a broker, I told you everything was on my own. I blew through $15,000. I'm not ashamed to say it. $15,000 in like 6 months. So, like I said, I was at like my wit's end. I was ready to give up. So I started, finding coaches and things like that, and nobody was able to help me. I went through business coaches, and at the end, after I explained my industry, they would say things like, your industry is so unique, right? And they couldn't help me. But then one day I just sat down and I thought back through everything all these coaches were teaching me. And I put it together and realized, this secret to, succeeding at this industry. But the problem happened when, as I'm learning and I'm making the adjustments in my business, I'm still fighting against the bad people in the business. And it used to make me angry. So I would get calls from clients that would tell me things that happened to them with other brokers. And I just get so angry that I started making YouTube videos about it. And if you've seen any of my YouTube videos from like the beginning when I first started YouTubing, it was more passionate. It was not even rehearsed. It was nothing like, it was like all over the place pretty much because it was just me. Like, you piss me off, I jump on YouTube and I'm like, this is what I don't like. This is not how it is. This is what's supposed to be. And I'm sick and tired of it, and I would just go on these rants. And people started messaging me that were brokers. These were for clients, not for brokers. And they were like, I watched your videos. Like, can you teach me how to be a good broker? Like, I don't want to be like the bad guys. I want to join your revolution. I'm like, revolution? Holy cow. Like, I'm really starting something here. And that's when I was like, okay, so I like helping people. I really like the industry. There are people that are actually finding my videos helpful. So why not start training people? It's like a win-win. It's like the best of all worlds. It was perfect. So, I started, and that's where Relo Academy was born. It was out of frustration for the industry, no formal training. And then the fact that people actually took to my videos well. And so I think I got off track, but yeah, that's basically where it all started, was frustration. It was really like a problem. And that's how I figured out, okay, people need help. People are actively looking for help, and I have the solution. So why not give it to them? So I started out just giving information for free. I started targeting my videos toward those people, and they kept saying stuff about, do you have a training program? So then I was like, crap, I should just make a training program. Okay, fine. So I spent a whole year practically trying to make this training program. And I'd be like, hey, sign up for my training program. Join my email list, get tips, and when the training program released, you'll be the first one to know. But I had no clue what I was going to do in my training program. I was just telling them. And so as I'm going and people are asking more questions and emailing me, I'm taking these questions and writing them and putting them in Evernote. And then I just created a course based on all the questions that they had. And that's where Relo Academy was born. And, that's it. I think I answered your question.
That's amazing, because you started off as basically a revolutionary. You used the questions that people were sending you to create your course. You basically took what people were asking for and created a course around it. And that's a great way to do things. People are coming to you and asking you to create this course rather than, somebody creating a course and then trying to find people that want it. You had people already wanting it. And so that's an amazing way to create a course, because you already got buyers and you already got people wanting your course. So tell us more about Relo Academy, a bird's eye view. Who is it for, and why should people be signing up for it?
It's for anybody that wants to jump into either the freight brokering industry or just wants to jump into auto transport. And the reason why I say freight brokering is because freight brokering is a hard industry to get into. It usually takes people about 6 months to a year, sometimes 3 years before they even start making money. But the earning potential is really great in freight brokering versus specializing. Auto transport, by specializing in auto transport, they're able to then, start making money right away. Pretty much you can take Relo Academy and then start making money immediately by implementing the steps that you learn in there, because it walks you through specifically how to start your business legally, all the way up into designing your website yourself, so you're saving money there. That way, that's more money you could put into buying leads, and then even down to the last module of the course, which is teaching you how to convert those leads, which is the most important part of the course. But it's pretty much, it was set up as an 8-week course, and I kind of shifted from, doing it, releasing modules weekly, because I had a lot of people that already started their business or that work for other companies that just wanted certain parts of the course. So I didn't want to make them sit through 6 weeks just to get to that part that they needed. So now I offer it as, you sign up, you pay, and you get the entire course. You learn at your own pace. You do it how you want to learn. So if you want to skip over, you can skip over. And I know a lot of course creators will tell you that's the wrong way to do it, especially with all this information. But for our industry, it works for us because, like I said, most people that come to me now have already started their business. So they've already done the preliminary work. They already have their website. They've paid somebody. So they just want to know how to convert their leads and stuff like that. So that's what Relo Academy is for, basically. It's an auto transport broker training course designed to take your business from rookie to pro in 8 weeks. And as little as 8 weeks, I should say, because I don't want to say 8 weeks, because sometimes it takes people longer. It just depends on how quickly you can implement things, how quickly you learn. I'm a fast learner, but doesn't mean that you might be a fast learner. Maybe it might take you 12 weeks, but if you do the course, it should take you about 8 weeks at least, and then you'll be able to start making money. So
you cover a lot of information, a lot of different areas in the course, anywhere from making a website look good and professional, how to market yourself as an auto transport broker, how to convince higher paying clients to use you as opposed to somebody else. And there's a lot of questions. I mean, you answer a lot of questions from 3 sides, from the business side, from the side of you as an auto transport broker, questions that you might have, and also questions that clients might have. I guess there's a lot of stuff that you cover. There's a lot of information. I was looking at the course, a lot of different areas. That's amazing that you provide a lot of content. If we dive into some of the questions, like maybe what are some of the big questions that you answer from the business side, from the auto transport broker side, from the client side? For example, how do you answer if a client gets their car damaged? What do you do in that situation?
Oh, that's a great question, because that's actually one of the top questions people ask me, not just, students, but clients, because I'm still an active broker. So I still broker cars out. And the answer to that is the first thing you want to do immediately is you want to note where the vehicle is damaged on your inspection form as a client. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you from like somebody that's shipping their car. And this is the same process. If you're a broker and you are handling this, this is what you want to tell your clients. The first thing that they need to do is to mark down exactly where the car is damaged and try to take pictures, as many pictures as possible. I don't care if it's the same area from different angles. It doesn't matter. Just take as many pictures as you possibly can, preferably on a disposable camera. But if you don't have one on hand, then obviously your cell phone camera will work as well. And then once you note the damage, you're going to want the driver to sign that form near the damage, saying that he acknowledges that you acknowledge that there's damage, right? It's just an extra step that most brokers don't tell you about to cover your backside as a client who's shipping your car, and to cover the broker's backside, the carrier's backside too, technically, because, what will happen is when the insurance goes through and you're trying to, put your claim in there and you're disputing it, the insurance company don't want to pay out. And everybody knows that. They never want to pay out. So they'll find any little thing. Well, how do we know that the carrier noted the damages? Or how do we know that this didn't happen after you took your car? So by, having the carrier sign right where you put the damages at, that's always helpful. And then, of course, you got to sign the paper and make sure you get a copy of that. The next step that I tell people to do, and I tell brokers to tell their clients, is to call the broker immediately. And a lot of people say call the insurance. The reason why I say call the broker immediately is because if your broker did his or her job, they would have had an additional assured drawn up. It's a certificate holder, like they become an additional assured on the carrier's insurance, right? So if they become that, now they can talk to the insurance company on your behalf. And a good broker will want to do that because it's like a third party. It's kind of like having an attorney, even though they're not an attorney. It's just another person, and it makes the insurance company get a little nervous. And that's what you want them to do, get a little nervous so they know it's not the client versus the carrier. Now you have a third party. So, and it's always worked for, people that I've known. It never happened to me. I haven't had any damages. I actually did have a client. I did have a car that was damaged. There was a client, but it was like a windshield crack, and those things aren't covered under the insurance. So it was pretty much me offering to pay for it as a broker. And I don't tell people to do that, but your job is to make the client happy. Make the client happy, they're going to tell everybody. So pretty much that's the steps. You note the damages on the paper, you sign your initials, you make sure the carrier signs too, and then you get a copy, you call your broker immediately, you fax that copy over to them or email it, and then you call the insurance and file your claim. And that's pretty much the steps that you take. And it's really simple, but a lot of people they mess up because they don't note the damages on the paper themselves. They just say, oh, there's damage, and then they're taking pictures and they're calling, but the form, they never filled it out on that inspection sheet. So when the insurance company says, did you fill out the inspection form? Do you have an inspection to show that there's damages? And they're like, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. It's not the client's fault. It's the broker's fault, because that's something that you should have covered with your client beforehand. But it's really a simple process that it's so simple that it's easy to, mess up, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking through your website, and some of the questions that you answer, there was an interesting one. What if the driver holds a client's car hostage? What happens?
Oh boy. Okay. So I'm a big storyteller. I love telling stories because I have so many stories to tell. So to answer this question, I have this story. One time when I first started my business, it was my first client ever, and it was a big client. It was a corporate relocation, and her company was paying for her move. And, oh gosh, I thought I knew what I was doing. I was new as a broker, but I had been in the auto transport industry. So I'm like, hey, it can't be that much harder, And so I got this carrier to move the car, and I didn't get a signed contract from him. I had my attorney draw up contracts, but then I didn't use it because as a carrier, you kind of have this passion or this feeling for other carriers, like you feel sorry for them. So he's like, I'm on my cell phone. I don't have a computer. I don't have access to a fax machine. I got to go to a truck stop. And I completely understand because I was a carrier, which ended up being my downfall in this situation because I was too understanding. So I let him go on, and I was like, okay, when you get down the street, just, fax me the paperwork. He picked up the car, got down the street. Let's just say he went 2,000 something miles, and I didn't get the signed contract from him. And then at that point, he was refusing to sign it. oh, why do I need to sign it? Long story short, the agreement was that I was supposed to pay him. And that way, because the company paid me all the money and then I pay the driver. And he got to California with her car and he decided that he wanted his money that day. That was not our arrangement, right? But, I didn't get that signed contract. So I'm calling up my attorney. I'm like, hey, what do I do? I just did this. And he's like, did he sign the contract? I said, no. He's like, well, there's nothing you can do. So I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, Ashley, that's why you have these contracts. So I felt so stupid. The girl's crying to me on the phone, like, I'm afraid of him. He's cursing me out. Just the stereotypical driver. You picture this big, huge, fat guy or something sitting behind the truck with a very bad mouth. And, that's what she was describing. She was like, I'm afraid of him and he's holding my car hostage and he won't give it to me. And then the company's calling me, like her company, and saying, Ashley, this is why we hired you, to prevent things like this from happening. And I was like kind of in a bind. So I put on my trucker mouth, and I'm going to spare your listeners of my trucker mouth, and I called them up and I said, listen, you're not going to do this to my client. If I have to get on a plane and fly out to California, you're going to see me. And trust me, just because I sound like a girl, you're going to run when you see me. So if I were you, I would give my client the car and stop acting like this, and I'll get your money to you. So I ended up Western Unioning him the money. He got his money and he gave her the car, and it was damage free, but I lost a potential corporate client that wanted to sign a contract with me to move all their corporate relocation. So it kind of messed up my whole thing, but it was a learning lesson. And so the moral of the story is that I tell people the reason why these things happen is because when you just choose any old guy on the first guy that calls you when you're putting your cars on this load board, and you don't follow the warning signs, this is why things happen. Don't cut corners. Do not cut corners. If the guy, I have a get to know you system, and I use it with these drivers, and I teach it in the academy. And without going into detail, it's pretty much, if there's warning signs, run away. I don't care if the client's car have to sit another day. I'd rather deal with an angry client than to put that car on that truck and then that guy do the same thing. So when this happens, I tell my client, this is what can happen. I'm not going to go with the first guy. I have a system that I use, and if this guy sounds sketchy, I will not use him. And if your car has to sit another day, then that's fine. But you'd rather that than to have your car held hostage. So like I said, it's all about following the warning signs, going with your gut. I'm a big believer in going with your gut feeling. And if the guy seems wrong for you, then move on. Tell your client, speak to your client, educate your client, let them know exactly what's going on. Don't hide anything. And they will love you. Trust me. I've had a guy's car. I've tripled the price of the car because in the beginning I was new at this and pricing wasn't my best feature. I didn't know how to price cars properly, and I underestimated his move. And, I just spoke to him, and I embarrassed as I was, I'm like, listen, I screwed up, and, this is what happened. I understand if you're mad at me, if you want your money back, that's fine. I'll give it back plus some because I messed up, and he ended up going with me, and he left one of the best reviews of all of any of my clients ever. And he had paid triple what he was supposed to because I was upfront and honest. And in this business, that's all it really takes to succeed is being honest, being yourself, and you're going to win customers all the time.
And this is what you teach in your course.
Correct. Of course, I go in much more detail, which is why the course is so long. But yes, it's pretty much that's the foundation. You can take that and go and start your business and, and succeed, because if you just be honest, and that's where most brokers go wrong, they don't do that. Even the established ones, I get a lot of them calling me now wanting to train their employees because they want them to run an ethical business, but yet, it's kind of hard because they don't know how to in this industry. And the magic secret is just being yourself and being honest. People want to do business with honest people, even if it means they made a mistake and admitting it. We're human, and that's what people want. So, but for whatever reason, brokers feel like they got to be right all the time. So they'll make up stories. They'll make up answers to questions instead of saying, hey, I don't know the answer, but I can figure it out if you give me a few hours or a few days, and that's all it takes.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have a lot of background, a lot of interesting stories there. And this is a part of the show where I get to ask you a few of the sort of techie questions, logistics and so on, and how you created this course. One of my questions that I like to ask is, what was the biggest mistake you made when you were creating this online course?
Okay. It's funny you asked that question. Okay. So the biggest mistake that I made was waiting so long to put it together. I shouldn't have waited so long to do it. Like I said, I spent a year, trying to put it together. And I waited for everything to be perfect. But after putting it together and stuff, I realized I could have released a module every week and then worked, or every 2 weeks, or however you want to set it up, and then worked on the next one. But instead, I completed the entire course and then put it out there for everybody. I think if I did it over, I would do, one module, and then work on that module, make sure it's perfect and put that out, and then, keep doing it. That way you stay interested. Especially if you're somebody that's putting a course together that you're selling to people that you don't know if they're going to buy it, right? You're not sure if people are going to buy it. It helps. That way you're not spending all this time creating a course and then nobody buys it. That would really suck. So, that was one of the things that I think that I should have done differently, because I've gotten a lot of students coming through, but I think I would have had a lot more, because in the beginning when I first announced the course, a lot of people was completely interested. And I mean, a lot, like hundreds of people were interested. And then it kind of died down as it took me so long to create it. So I think that was the biggest thing, is I should have put it out there and just continued to, build on the modules as time goes on.
So looking at the mechanics of creating your course, what was your workflow like when you created your online training? How long did it take you from start to finish to put it all together? How did you record the course?
Okay, so from the techie side, once the course was already written, like I guess that's what you're asking, because it took me a year to put everything together from start to finish. But I wrote an outline, and then I started expanding on the outline. So like I said, I had the questions, and then I started expanding on them and grouping them into, categories. So like you said, the SEO section, and I would do all the SEO questions there. But once it was up, I'm a fast learner. So it took me about, I would say, 4 weeks. Scheduling was my best friend. I would literally set deadlines. By this week, I need to have all the modules recorded, the audio. By this week, I need to have all the slides designed and ready to go. By this week, I need to put them together. So I pretty much set up a schedule, and I stuck by it. And Evernote was my best friend. I keep talking about it, but Evernote was my best friend. That and Asana, it helped me. So I would set tasks and schedules. So my phone would literally go off if like a week before, and I'm like, crap, I got a week to get this done. So there was times when I would procrastinate, and I would be like, okay, well, the deadline's coming up, July, whatever, 27th, I have to have this done by. So, it really was about a 3-4 week period of, just setting, strict deadlines, because, I had to have the course released by a certain date that I had chosen. So I pretty much just made sure I stuck by those simple little goals that allowed me to, by the end, if I would have did big goals, then it probably would have gotten all jammed up. So I did little tiny things. Like I said, all the slides, all the audio, and, but I learned fast. So I'm self-taught. So I taught everything myself. YouTube was my best friend. And I would YouTube everything, what mic to use, or, what course out, how to set up, the course outline or whatever. So that's pretty much how I learned everything.
So how is your course delivered? Is it video, audio? What platform did you end up using?
I used, I guess it's called screencasting. I suck at all these terms. Forgive me if I'm not really that techie with it, but, I basically use I have a Windows computer. Shameful to admit. Yes, a Windows computer. So, I use PowerPoint, and, I recorded the audio, through, my Blue Yeti microphone, and then I just added the audio to the PowerPoint slide. So as they're going through, it changes and I'm talking over it. So that's how the entire course is. And then it has PDFs that go with, the video / I hate calling it a video, because video, you automatically think you're going to see me, and you don't see me. So you just hear me.
And it's hosted on WordPress?
The entire course is on WordPress, yes, but my videos are hosted through Wistia.
What payment system did you end up using, and why?
Well, I was already Infusionsoft customer, so I tried to keep everything simple. So pretty much my course is done through Infusionsoft. So when people pay for it, it's done through their order forms. But as a whole, it's using authorize.net, because that's who I have as my merchant service. Through my bank, which is really complicated, I guess. But I don't know who it is. It's like Wells Fargo through authorize.net through Infusionsoft. So, but I use Infusionsoft order forms because you get to edit them, and I really like them. And PayPal just seemed to be too much for me to like with money wise. Like I like to keep things simple, so it's better to keep it within, authorize.net. So that's how I collect payment.
Yeah, there are lots of different payment methods. How do you market your course? What's been the most successful for you? Are you marketing through YouTube?
Yes. You figured out my secret. Shh, don't tell anybody. Yes, I use YouTube only. I tried Facebook ads for it. It just wasn't working. The industry is so weird. So YouTube has been my best friend, because when people are looking for, information about the industry, for some reason, by them Googling it, YouTube videos pop up. So, so when they see my YouTube video, then they start watching it, and I'm everywhere after that. They tell me they were on a site shopping, and then they see my video in the sidebar. So they're like freaked out, like I'm following them, they said. So, but yeah, I just use YouTube. And by using YouTube, I've actually pushed myself pretty much to the top of the search on Google, and which is really cool. So when you type in like auto transport broker training, last I checked, I was number 1 and number 3 or something like that. And then my video pops up of me in my car recording a video. But that's how I market, is through YouTube. I'm actually going to start marketing through forums and blogs for people that are like either in the military or car enthusiasts, because a lot of them I feel will make great brokers. So I'm going to explore other channels.
So looking back, what was the one tool, software or hardware, that you absolutely needed to create your online course?
I would say OptimizePress, because that's the platform that I use. I use WordPress, but I use OptimizePress and OptimizeMember to set it up. That is the number one thing, because anything else is like, you can figure the other stuff out. But with that, it makes creating online courses so simple. I sound like a commercial, but it really does. It makes it it's so easy that anybody can learn it. And it's pretty much, there's templates for you to use that are free, so you're not paying for them. And you just click a button and you're changing things out, and it makes your course look awesome. And you didn't have to design it yourself. It's already there. You're just dragging and dropping, literally. And so I am an advocate for OptimizePress and OptimizeMember. It is so worth it. It will make your life easier.
You need a way to protect your content. Whatever works for you, that's awesome. How do you support your course members? Do you have any other way? Do you have a private discussion forum?
Originally, the idea was to create a Facebook group, but the people that signed up for the course didn't really want to be in a Facebook group. So what I did was I used the comment function on the course itself to create like a comment box. So underneath each module, there's a box where they can type whatever if they have a question or a comment, and they can type it in there. With the first couple of groups that went through the course, I actually was doing something called a weekly huddle, where at the end of the week, they get to ask me anything via email. But a lot of them said the course was pretty much self-explanatory, and that it was pointless to really meet up every Saturday, because I block out Sundays is football. So I wasn't blocking out my Sundays. I got to watch my football. So Saturdays was the day, and they were like, it doesn't make any sense. So after I created the course, I reviewed people and, asked them, what they thought, what they would change, and what was useful, what wasn't. And the most unuseful thing was the weekly huddles. So I actually removed them, and it's no longer available. But people can still email me throughout the 6 weeks, 8 weeks of the course, and I usually will answer. I don't really tell people that too much because I don't want them to flood my inbox now that I've removed it. But pretty much the course is pretty self-explanatory. So there's no groups yet right now. Like I said, they didn't really want the Facebook group thing, because that was the plan. And they were like, I don't know what it is about the auto transport industry, what they have against Facebook, but they really don't like it too much. So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I use Facebook quite a lot, and I have my own community on Facebook as well. What I was thinking was more if the members of your course wanted to communicate with each other, if there's a way that they would be able to do that.
Oh, well, I do have something called the Inner Circle, and it's something for after the program. It's not necessarily during the program. It's more like a mentorship, but we every month we meet and we get on the phone and we discuss topics and stuff. Everybody gets to ask questions, talk about what they've been up to, and but it's a membership thing, so it's in addition to the course. And if you take the course, obviously you get your first month free, but if you haven't taken the course, it's $97 per month. And you basically, it's for people who already started their business and really just want to network with other members. And it also has like free training videos every month, of free training videos released that like new stuff. So if I learn something new, which I always learn something new, and I take my money, I'll experiment ideas, and then I'll bring it to them either via, a video or an audio. And then we'll discuss it also in our weekly phone meetings, in our monthly phone meetings. And that's pretty much a way of them connecting. But other than that, I found that to be the most helpful because, like I said, they didn't want the Facebook group for whatever reason, but they like the phone thing, the conference call. They find that very, helpful.
That's great. Take a few minutes and offer your best, most practical advice to anyone thinking of creating their first online course or training.
Just start. The best advice I have is to just do it. Don't take too much time thinking about it. Just survey your readers, find out what they want, and then use their questions to create a course. And, if I think that the best thing that I've learned that I did actually the right way was by me talking about creating the course. By talking about it, and your people that are already listening to you or people that are hearing you already, they're gonna either A, take well to it and be like, yes, please do it. We want more information, or be like crickets. And then it's probably not gonna work. So you can't do anything without actually doing it. So you could think all you want and wait for the perfect moment, but the key to it is just doing it. So survey your listeners, figure out what they want, what questions do they always ask, peep in and out of blogs. I do that a lot. I go into forums and I just spy on things that people are complaining about, and and ask questions, and your viewers will create the course for you because they'll tell you what they struggle with, and then you answer a couple of them so they feel satisfied, but then you use those other questions and even the ones that you've answered to go more in depth in your course. And that would be my best advice for anybody.
Ashley, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you. Where can people reach you online?
They can reach me through my website at relogeek.com, and if you're interested in joining the academy, you can visit reloacademy.com. I'm also on Twitter at ReloGeek and on Facebook at ReloGeek. So facebook.com/ReloGeek. Keeping it simple.
Check out the show notes at educationhackers.com to find out about all the resources we talked about in this episode. Until next time, take care.